Thank you. Thank you for
Mazel tov. Welcome back.
the mazel tovs.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everybody. I missed you guys. It's a very long time to be away. I was trying to think about if I'd ever, for this extended period of time, I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like anybody missed me, so I'm gonna go away more often. I'm gonna go away more often. That's it. You know, that was a big job.
Lauren.
Fishing.
At least it was for something good.
Like this, you fish. Exactly. Steve knows me too well.
Something good.
We supplied you with a great replacement.
Yes. Well, here's the. You have to tell him. I'll give you his email. You know, he's a proud guy. He didn't give
Give us
any
his email.
Yes, wonderful.
Yeah, actually, I have to write.
It's great.
Oh, good. Look, I'm sure he will very much appreciate that.
What's his email?
I'll put it in the chat. I'll put it in the
Okay.
chat. Anybody wants to email him?
Brilliant.
Heidi's.
Oh, the
Hey.
groceries.
Oh, it's my friend Howard. Why don't you?
Good Shabbos.
Good
Welcome
Shabbos.
back.
Good
Yeah.
Shabbos. Good Shabbos.
That
Oh, that's
was my wish. I'd like to get.
Yeah, we lost
talking about the young.
When you
Good.
Oh, good.
Okay.
send me
Looks
Peter's
like
email.
we have a guest appearance by Emmett sleeping at the bottom there. Good shot.
Oh,
Very good.
Oh, that's
Give
nice.
That's it. All right. Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I'm going to mercilessly
Shalom.
mute you all. And very good. Nice to see you. We'll keep it on this for a second here before we get started. So the first thing I want to say is my gratitude really to this whole community, to all of you for the love and the care and the notes and all the various things that you've given to us over the last month. And you know, Emmett and Lou and Eva, we're all doing great, and hopefully have more opportunities to interact with them and to see the baby and all those things, but really just to thank all of you. And I owe all of you many emails and responses to text messages and things of that nature, which I will start to get to as I come back. Please just give me a little bit of time to catch up on things. And then the other important thank you here is to our wonderful, I'll call her a student cantor, but I think we all know, well on her way to official cantor, to Cantor Lauren, who did a fantastic job while I was away, and to her incredible rabbinical student boyfriend, Aaron, who also helped in so many ways, and to their friend Max, who I'm told also did a wonderful job. So really, just tremendous. And as I said to Lauren, I couldn't, in my second year of school, I couldn't have led 4 weeks in a row, especially under these sort of weird circumstances. So she really did an exceptional job. And I think everyone here, I also want to thank you for being as supportive of her and Aaron and Max as you've been. It's a very important part, as I said, about our community, that we want to help our students to grow. And that sometimes means presenting challenges. But as you can see, Lauren certainly rose to that challenge, as did Aaron and Max. And really, we thank all of you again. I thank you very personally for everything that you did that way. I want to thank our co-president, Ron, who I'm told has done an excellent job with announcements. Ron, you're on again. No, be ready. This is a good thing. And I love that we've added some new things, like having our congregants involved in candle lighting like we used to do in person. So Jerry and Kathy, I know you're going to be on tonight, which is really great. And with all of that, I obviously have a lot to say, but we're going to get started with services. And this week, we're going to stick to really Cantor Lauren's layout for the past few weeks. I want to kind of see where things have been, and we may adjust some things here and there. But I think we'll do that. And just one last quick hello. I want to say to Jackie Metzger, I see you on the call. I wanted to say good Shabbos to Jackie. It's wonderful to see you on there. We'll catch up in a little bit. Okay, so now that we've done my welcome, I'm told, this is where we're going to switch over to Jerry and Kathy as we turn to page 120. And let me just find Jerry and Kathy as I lost them. We'll spotlight you here. And Cantor Lauren is going to help us with the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner Shabbat.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And we'll turn it back over to Cantor Lauren. And we'll turn now to page 130, Lechu Naranana.
Lechu neranena l'Adonai nariya letzor yishaynu nekan mafanav betoda Bismirot Nariyalo Yay Nay Nay Yay 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 Yay
We'll turn now to page 131, Shiru Ladonai.
Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Ladonai kol haaretz. Shiru Ladonai shir hadash.
We'll turn now to page 132, or Zarua.
Oy Zarua Latzadik Uleishrei lev simcha. Oy Zarua Latzadik Uleishrei lev simcha. Simchut tzadikim Adonai, Ta'odu lezecher kodsho. Simchut tzadikim Adonai, Ta'odu lezecher kodsho.
We'll turn now to page 134, Zamru Ladonai.
Zamru Ladonai bechino. Bechino
And we'll turn now to page 135, Romamu, which is the last paragraph in Hebrew in the middle of the page.
Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'yishachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'yishachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'yishachavu lehar kodsho.
And we'll turn now to page 138 for Lechado D, and a reminder we're going to do the first, second, fifth, and ninth stanzas.
Lechadoni likrat kala, Bnei Shabbat nekavela. 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 Shamor וזכור בדיבור אחד, השביענו אל המנוחה, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו תתברר בתחילה. לך אדוני, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו בנעך, כי מקור חברך, לראש מקדם מסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך אדוני, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורף ומגורי, גורי גורי שיר דברי, כבוד עלי עלי תחילה. לך אדוני, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. אורי ושלום הטרף עלה, גם בשמחה וצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך אדוני, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה.
And we'll turn now to page 140. Again, page 140, Psalm 92, to close out Kabbalat Shabbat.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב לאדוני אדוני, לזמר לשמך היום, לזמר לשמך היום. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, לזמר לשמך היום, לזמר לשמך היום, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בעדות, עליהו סור מעלינו, עליhi gayon techimon, mizmor shir leyom hashabbat, tov le'odot Adonai, lezamer lashimcha hayom, lezamer lashimcha hayom.
And now we turn to page 144, Chatzi Kaddish, I think.
יתקנל ויתקדש שמי רבה, תלמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם על מעמיה יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויינשא, ויתהלל ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי קודשו בריחו, לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירה מעלמה, ויאמרו amen.
And we'll turn now to page 146 for the Baruch Hu.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Nai, 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 nai,
And we'll turn now to page 148, and we'll read together at the very bottom of the page in English. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב הרבים. אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אתה, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו למדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכנו ובקומנו, נשיח בגוגיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, אורך ימינו, ובהם נהיה יומם בלילה, מאהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
We turn to page 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם emet. And we'll now turn back to Cantor Lauren as we turn to page 158, Michamocha. And we'll turn now to the top of page 161.
And there be love and understanding among us, let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Let there be love and understanding among us, let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, Leshalom, Beha'amidenu, Shomreinu Lechayim, Ufros Aleinu,
We'll turn now to page 162, Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבר וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
And now, in a moment, Cantor Lauren will help us to enter the Amidah with a certain amount of consciousness on page 164, and then we'll invite each of us to take our own time to daven the Amidah wherever it feels appropriate and whatever way feels most appropriate. And again, we'll have some silent time, and then we'll come back out and join back together. So Cantor Lauren, if you wouldn't mind starting us off again on page 164, and then please go at your own pace, and when you're finished, if you're standing, you can be seated.
Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. עושה שלום במרומו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
And a big thank you to Allie for the wonderful support. I mean, it's very rare, I should say, these days, especially with Zoom, to be able to get harmony. So what a treat. So Allie, thank you for that. You know, all that sibling love is wonderful to see. So we're going to turn now to page 371 as we offer our prayer of healing, our hopes for those that we know and those that we are thinking about beyond just our immediate circles who are in need of healing. And so as we turn to page 371, I'll read a list of those that we're thinking of in our community and connected to our community. But I'll invite those who feel comfortable to share. If you'd like to add names to our chat or simply to hold names or thoughts in your heart is perfectly okay as well. So as I said, in our community, we're thinking of tonight Andrew Edelman, Bob Posner, Joyce Weinberg, Rick Gold, Stu Pollock, Jane London, Phyllis Silver, Catherine Guarino, Emuna Chava, Sandra Furman, Morty Lynn, Raina Walsh, Deirdre Klein, Stephanie Skitt, Nancy DeMate, Jean Ben Sadoun, Gloria Taradash, Judy Stern, Miriam Cornfield, Roz Brody, Chana Ruth Batsara, Marlise Silverberg, Louis Davidson, Susan Spruce, Fagel Tzipora Bat Elisheba Batsara, Richard Gambino, Michelle Sawicki, Idle Basha Bat Yitzchak, Tzvi Menachem Ben Chaim, Rivka Bat Devora, Amy and Gavin Tucker, Janice Kurz, David Dowling, Neil Elliott and Eileen Rosen, Israel Ben Yitzchak, Ben Sion Ben Moshe, Lorraine Danis, Buddy Kassoff, Shelley Newmark, David Kyle Klotman, Rivka Bat Rachel, Sarah Bat Chana, Moshe Eliezer Ben Sivia, Peretz Ben Yehuda, and Leah Bat Naomi. And as we think of those that we've read and those that have been added to and those that we are holding in our hearts, we'll turn back to Cantor Lauren, who will lead us in the Misha Berach on page 371.
Who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. We shall
Thank you, Cantor Lauren. After all that hard work, you can certainly take a well-deserved break on many levels. It's wonderful to see all of you guys. It's wonderful to be back at my office and my chair. It certainly has been an incredible month and lots of things to reflect on, lots of personal things to share. But I came into this this night, this Shabbat, with a few things on my mind, but one that that struck me a little bit differently than I think had happened in the past, as we were on our New Year's Day. Our secular New Year is, I don't know if any of you are capable of staying up till midnight. I certainly am not anymore. But at some point in the last 24 hours, the acknowledgement of a new year coming in, which obviously is very different than our religious New Year, our spiritual New Year earlier on Rosh Hashanah. But this year obviously has a slightly different element to it, which is that, at least in my experience, I'm almost 40 years old, I can't think of another time in my life where the end of one year and the beginning of another was so heavy, right? In which so many people were not just reflecting on it, but reflecting on it in a particular kind of way, which is basically, not letting the door hit 2020 on its way out. In other words, every conceivable place or opportunity for anyone to say, basically, that this has been an incredibly tough, challenging, heartbreaking kind of year, and we're done with it, and we're happy and excited to be on to the next kind of thing. And I thought about that a lot, and it occurred to me it was something about it was making me feel somewhat uncomfortable. Like, I get it, I completely understand it, but there was another part of me that felt like that was really tough. And I think it's because in Judaism, we don't look at Rosh Hashanah in that kind of way, right? We never say nuts to 5780, hooray for 5781. You'll never hear that. You won't see that. It doesn't come up that way. It's not really the way we tend to think about the passage of time or the celebration of the change of time. And I realize that, this is an unusual year, an unusual circumstance. I get the catharsis of trying to sort of embody everything bad that's happened in the last year and say goodbye to it. And I can understand the sort of psychological aspect of it and the meditative aspect of it. But there still was something that was kind of bugging me, and I couldn't quite figure out exactly how to articulate it. And then, as would happen, and happens probably more to rabbis and cantors than others, but sitting down and I'm studying for the portion for tomorrow, and I'm thinking about this week's portion, Vayechi, as we're entering the end of the book of Genesis, the beginning of Shemot starting next week, and the end of a life. It's one of these really interesting parshas in which the title of it, Vayechi, and he lived, is actually really talking about the death of Jacob, the end of the line of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and that part of our history, that part of our ancestors' lives. And this sort of really, in some cases touching, in some cases actually really challenging deathbed moments in which his children come to pay homage, and his grandchildren even come to pay homage. And there is a sort of a wrapping up of this narrative about this one central story, the central family of our tradition. So here's where the strangeness comes in. So for those of you that have been studying over the last few weeks, as I'm sure that you have, that we learned about Jacob fairly early on, that he was born with the name Yaakov, the name Jacob, but after a incident first with depending on how you read it, an angel, a mysterious person, God's self, that he has a transformative experience in which he is told by this Ish, as the text tells us, that his name is going to change from Yaakov to Israel, right? The name that we, as inheritors of our tradition, all are sort of a part of, right? This idea of Israel. So it happens a second time also, in which, in this case, I believe it's God that tells Yaakov that his name is going to be Israel, or his name is Israel, and that this sort of transformation has taken place. So one would think after something like this, by both a God sent angel or messenger and God's self telling Yaakov that his name is changed, right? We would think what would happen? That this week's portion, we would get to this week's portion, we're talking about the end of his life, he would only be referred to as Israel. And yet we see, in fact, that the name plays back and forth. Sometimes he's Yaakov, sometimes he's Jacob, sometimes he's Israel, sometimes he's Israel. And we go back and forth on this. Even in this week's portion, we have it a number of different times. And so, of course, it strikes the commentators, the rabbis, as at least questionable, and perhaps there's something more to it. But it tends to be that the classic commentator's response to this is, it's what you'd say in Hebrew, lo kashya, there's not a problem. There's no issue here. That really all it is, the first time God says, okay, that, there's going to be a name change, the Ish says there's going to be a name change, and then eventually there is one, but it's okay to have the two names. It can go back and forth. And there's all sorts of explanations of it, some of which I found compelling and others that I found less compelling, but it still didn't get to where I was going. It wasn't really hitting me in the way that I was expecting it to. And so I thought about it a little bit more, and as I thought about it, and I thought about it in connection to this other challenge I was having about, how we're sort of thinking about the year that's passed and thinking about the year that's upcoming, is that I think, as it is with Yaakov, Israel, and as it is with 2020 and 2021, we've created something of a false dichotomy, right? That it can either be one thing or the other. He can either be Yaakov or he can be Israel. We can either live in the awfulness of 2020 or accept the wonderful things that are supposedly supposed to come in 2021. Right? Our mentality as human beings is to tend to think in those kinds of ways, that we bifurcate things. We create a sense that there is a yes and a no, a right and a wrong. But in reality, when 2020 ends and 2021 begins, maybe some of you felt a transformation take place over the last 24 hours. But for most of us, if we really stop and think about it, that transition isn't absolute. It's not like 2020 ceases to exist and all that exists is 2021. It's not that Yaakov ceased to exist, that Jacob of his childhood, of all the experiences before becoming Israel, disappear, and that suddenly he becomes Israel and that's it forever, and that we never look back and we never have any thought about where we've come from, right? So much of who Jacob becomes is because of the years of struggle, the years of challenge, so much so that his name Israel implies that he is somebody who wrestles with and struggles with. And I think part of what was rubbing me the wrong way about this idea of sort of saying goodbye to 2020, as if we could sort of say that it never happened or it doesn't exist or it's not a part of us, isn't reality. The reality is the same kinds of challenges that faced us 24 hours ago are still here today. The same way that Jacob didn't cease to be the person that he was, but he took on other kinds of outlooks, a outlook towards the future. And so what I would posit for those of us who perhaps have felt like all you want to do is forget everything that's happened over the last year, is to think about it a little bit more like Jacob and Israel, and realize that there are situations in which we really can't forget our past. We can't leave behind things, even if we may want to. They're a part of us. They are with us. The experiences of the last year will be with each and every one of us for the rest of our lives. And I don't believe that we will actually get to a better place in 2021 if we try to act as if all that stuff is now in the past, right? Jacob didn't give up his previous identity to become Israel. We don't have to give up the struggles of the last year in order to face the new year with a sense of optimism and a sense of possibility and a sense of hopeful growth and ultimately of healing. I think actually to do those things and to achieve those goals, we are actually much better suited to keep 2020 actually closer than we may want to, right? To remind ourselves of what this experience has been like, the singular parts of it, the parts that are actually there as they've been for years past. That part of Judaism's approach to the passage of time is never to think of it as unidirectional. That actually the Torah really thinks of time in a very different kind of way, and Judaism as a whole thinks of time in a very different kind of way. And I think for those of us who want to move on, I don't want to hold you back. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. If it's easier for you to write 2020 on the beach and let the water take it away, the hatzlacha to you, as they say, the best of luck. But for me, I'm going to try to go into this new year, this secular new year, with a different kind of mindset, which is to say that, just as Jacob and Israel are part of the same, right, part of the same whole, that I'll go into this coming year carrying a lot of the lessons learned, a lot of the experiences of the last year, but at the same time trying to look towards the future. And that really is what the end of Genesis is about. It's the end of one line and the beginning of another. So as we all together transition from the end of this year 2020 and into this year 2021, let us again try to do that with a different kind of outlook, one that doesn't say we're trying to get as far away from last year as possible, but simply to say that we all have managed to get to this moment, to this day. We've made it into this next year, and as it happens to begin with a Shabbat. So let's make this Shabbat one about visioning and about trying to take the next steps together towards what I hope will be a beautiful year for all of us. And as I said, a year of healing and a year of growth. And we will, rather than slamming the door on 2020, perhaps give a gentle nod in that direction and now orient ourselves towards the future. So with that, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom. I hope some of that made a certain kind of sense. And as I noticed, and Cantor Lauren brought in a few different changes from last week, one of the different changes is that after my drash, we're going to go right into announcements. So I hope that our co-president Ron is ready and waiting, as I'm sure that he is. I just have to find him on my list here. And Ron, we're going to make you the spotlight, and let me make sure you can unmute yourself.
Unmute.
Very good. We have matching haircuts.
Yeah. It's another story. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome back. It's great to hear your voice and see you again. Welcome home. Also, thank you, Lauren. It's wonderful, as it's been the past month, to hear you sing. Very inspiring. Tomorrow morning, there will be services hosted by Rabbi Dan at 10 a.m. Then it'll be followed by Torah study at 12 using a woman's commentary facilitated by Emily Kutash. We're back to Hebrew School Monday at 4 p.m. and the Social Justice Committee will meet virtually at 5 p.m. Tuesday at 12 noon, Myra Peskowitz will lead a lunchtime conversation with an Eli Talks video prompt titled Compassion and the Heart of Jewish Spirituality. Sounds terrific. Rabbi Dan will resume his class on Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel and the Prophets Wednesday at 12 p.m. Also Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Please join us for a virtual tour of the Pollock Krasner House, followed by a really special Q&A with our own Ann Chwatsky, who will talk about her friendship with Lee Krasner. That's sure not to be missed. And Friday, 9 a.m., Rabbi Dan will resume his Pirkei Avot class. Please join us. They're all wonderful programs, and you can see them all in our weekly e-blasts. If you're not getting them, please let Eileen in the temple office know. And we welcome you after services for our virtual Oneg Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Well done, Ron. Excellent.
Thank
Very
you.
well done. That's a lovely thing, right? There's a lovely addition. I remember actually when I worked at Woodlands Community Temple in Ardsley that it was actually, and Ron, you can consider this as a possibility if you'd like to bring in some help, that various board members would take on that responsibility, and the candle lighting at the beginning. It's really, all this stuff makes me very happy to see, really very happy to see. And it's wonderful to be welcomed back as warmly as I've been. I really did truly miss all of you. But before I get into any last words or anything like that, we still have some service to do, and we're going to turn to page 586 at the very bottom of the page, Aleinu L'Shabach. Aleinu L'Shabach, L'Adon HaKol, Latet Gedula, Leotzer Breshit, Shelo Asanu Kegoye HaRatzot, Velo Samanu Kemishmechot Adama, Shelo Sam Chelkenu Kahem, Vegor Aleinu Kechol Hamonam, Vanachnu Korim, Umishtachavim Umodim, Lifnei Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, V'nehemar, V'haya Adonai, Lemelech al kol haaretz, Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad. And now we'll think of those, unfortunately, who have passed in our community in the recent months, and those, of course, who are being remembered and their yahrzeit, the anniversary of their passing. And we'll think first of Miles Ambrose, Fred Eber, Nancy Fisher, Saul Fisher, Edwin Friedman, Sandra Friedman, Lucy Gladstone, Lois Herr, Philip Idone, Phyllis Katz, Laura Kurz, Madge Judith Parcher, Steve Popkin, Vera Shaps, Norma Small, Marjorie Weinberg Berman, Ann Weiss, and Marvin Weiss. And we mark the yahrzeits that occurred during the last week for Ida Abelman, Gladys Abraham, Alex Alexander, Rosella Baskin, Gloria Brandt, Frank Cohen, Ida Crowitz, Leonard Crowitz, Louis Crowitz, Ruben Daphner, Roger Davis, Jacob Eisenberg, Aaron Epstein, Joseph Epstein, Lena Epstein, Paula Epstein, Herbert Fowler, Ann Goldenson, Mark Goldfarb, Florence Epstein Goldman, Mitchell Goldman, Howard Barrett Graham, Harriet Green, Karia Grossman, Caroline Harrison, Ida Hilkovitz, Irving Hirschberg, Hilda Ivers, Bertha Spitz Cantor, Ethel Kurtzman, Molly Klein, Ing Leopold, Frank Lester, Jacques Nouvel, Joan Rocker Newman, Hans Oppenheimer, Gelta Rubin, Sarah Shockett, Samuel Schwartz, Molly Sent, Harry Silberman, Arnold Spitz, and Timothy Vernon. In addition to those that we have read their names, if anyone has names that they'd like to share in the chat, we invite you to add those now or simply to hold them in your hearts, and invite those who are in mourning and those observing yahrzeit, if you so choose, to rise, and we'll join together on page 598 for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayi dechol Beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'le'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha barichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalom araba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yimeru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yimeru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yimeru amen.
Thank you, Cantor. Thank you, Allie. Once again, that was beautiful. And as we bring our service to a close tonight, and again, we'll, as Ron pointed out, we'll stay on for the Oneg Shabbat for anybody who would like to stay on. But we'll turn now to do our Kiddush on page 123. And if you have grape juice or wine handy, you're more than welcome to join. It looks like, Ron, whatever you've got is probably tasting better than what I got. So l'chaim to you. All right, again, page 123. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon inchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh Zecher letziat Mitzrayim, ki banu v'chata, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol amim, ve'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava uratzon inchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. L'chaim. Okay, now I think there's some way to allow everybody to unmute, ask everybody to unmute. Shabbat Shalom. I'm going to turn the streaming off, so Shabbat Shalom to everybody who's been watching.